Hello everyone, welcome to episode 4 from the Mentalist MGTOW. I'm going to talk about a lot of issues today, so I'm just going to jump right in. Let's talk about, firstly, the idea that a lot of people have stated that men are used for utility, and we are. Now a lot of this is due to a lot of traditional expectations about men. Now those traditional expectations are mostly due to biology, both on men and women's sides. For men specifically, that we were used as protectors and providers because before the advancement of society that we have now, that's made that more available to both genders, men were used to go to war. They were used for manual labor because that was the primary need in most occupations, and they're just more suited to that. Are there extreme examples of female bodybuilders out there that are just physically as capable as men? Yes, but if we go that route, that's mostly grasping at straws and searching for validation. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to cover the traditional roles. The reasons women were traditionally expected to be homemakers and take care of children is because, well, they couldn't do the jobs that men were required to do because they weren't as capable of it. And also, I don't know of any men that are capable of giving birth. Well, unless you find it on the front page of the National Enquirer, and that's just a different story. One I'm also not buying. Today you'll have a lot of modern feminists say that they want independence, but their actions are simply showing that they want social status and power. A lot of them take from men, and they use the social conceptions of morality to take advantage of the things that men offer without giving anything in return. You also hear a lot of modern feminists talk about women's sexuality being exploited. Currently, a lot of people are not realizing that men's sexuality is being just as exploited as women's. And if you're unfamiliar with that, you need to do a little research into things like the V-bone steak, or just make the common assumption that, oh my God, look at those six-pack abs. What does that indicate? That indicates just as much a slice of the pie of men's sexuality being exploited. Then you're going to have a lot of people that are going to raise the argument, well, what's wrong with men's sexuality being exploited and women's sexuality exploited, or has been exploited for years? Well, my grandfather had a wonderful saying that pretty much sums that up. Two wrongs don't make a right. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Also, one of the current issues you're going to have out there is dealing with the pay gap argument. You have so much conflicting evidence out there that can support a lot of different theories. You have the median income theory, which says that the reason it's that way is because women are not going for the higher paying jobs because they quote unquote go for the pink collar jobs, as you'll see in a lot of sociology studies. Most women typically are going for jobs that are administrative support, nursing occupations. So they're not going for the jobs that pay more, which will raise that median income gap. Don't get me wrong, there is some credence to that. As a matter of fact, I had a big discussion about this the other day with some people, and there was no good answer even amongst us. What you don't see is the fact that when it comes to domestic spending, men are more likely to hand over most of their paycheck to the women in their lives, and women control 80% of that domestic spending. So even if they're only getting a certain portion of money from their own careers, if they're in a relationship with this man that's still going under that provider role, she's probably going to get to spend a good portion of his money as well. So guess what? Honestly, women have a pretty good control over the monetary situation in Western culture. Congratulations. Pay gap argument solved. Not that it's still right, but you can't really bring up the fact that you're not getting as much money as men when you're spending more money than. When it comes to feminism, women asked men, hey, we want you to stand aside, give us our freedom. Let us be equal to you. Well, men did. And the men that did, and the men that do, are pretty much treated like garbage now. And if you don't believe that, I encourage you to go look up Karen Stolten's video, where she went and spoke in Canada about men being called obsolete. It was a great speech. I encourage anybody to look at it. Not to mention, now that men have stepped aside, all of your third wave feminists are now claiming that men are genetically inferior to women. Fantastic. But I'd like to see how the female gender would have fared up into the modern age without men breaking their backs to help them. Are men angry about this? Absolutely. And they have that right. I mentioned getting into some personal discussions this past week and dealing with men's rights. And in my personal experience, there is a lady friend of mine that normally I see eye to eye on with any inequality issue that we come across together. But whenever I brought up men's rights issues, she tried everything in her power to rip it apart and to silence me and to shame me. I quickly pointed her out on it and informed her I was going to have none of it. I encourage every other man out there to do the same. Stand up for your rights, call people out when they try to shame you, and make it known what's really going on. We need to spread more of the red pill to the male generation. Things are not equal on either side, and we need to get it there. We need to eliminate feminism, and we need to come up with something that promotes real gender equality for both sides. I think that's all I'm going to talk about for today. But I thank everybody for stopping by my channel. I hope you have a good rest of your day. And remember, prescribe as much red pill to everyone you come across as you can.